outside stem and inside stem on the kayak here is actually extended further beyond the stern of the boat than necessary, right, Kenya? And so I've marked here, this is the actual finished length of the boat here. I'm going to cut it off maybe an inch or so short of that, because I'm going to be ending up putting in a block of wood on the end here when the deck is finally attached. So here we go. We're just going to cut off. I've got marks on both sides. So we'll go about right here, and off she goes. The hull is ready for the deck to be attached, other than I'm probably going to give it one good sanding and maybe a couple more coats of epoxy before final attachment. So the hull can be set aside now, giving a little more room in the shop. From the plans, I've measured the location of the cockpit, the stern portion here, which is in relation to center of buoyancy, center of gravity of the intended paddler. So I'm just taping down my pattern, got some masking tape down, and we'll trace it out and begin cutting. And we'll just double check with the widest part 2 7/8, at the widest part very close. I'm going to go with that and trim it up later. Time to start cutting some holes in this deck. We're going to go with vertical staves of cedar strips for the combing riser. Therefore, I need to make this sort of square the ground. I'll clean it up with just a shirt form for now. The cockpit pattern as drawn out is a little bit, I don't know, odd to me, I guess, in that at the center line I would expect this to be sort of a 90-degree angle here. So it's coming in on an angle here and then it goes up there. So at the stern portion of the cockpit you end up with kind of a V in there. So I'm just going to put down this little batten here and just kind of run it around from a couple of points to make this more of a gradual curve. It's going to be easier to build the cockpit lip with it in that position, and I don't think it's really supposed to be that way. At least we're going to make that adjustment.
I now have the combing riser completely built. I didn't film it. It's not very exciting stuff to watch. Basically, it's just little scrap pieces of cedar strip glued vertically. I like to use a very thick gap-filling CA glue, or we call crazy glue. You can use an accelerant to set that glue up really fast. Holds everything in place. It's a bit fragile. I've sanded everything down. I've added a fillet around the bottom here. I may put a little bit of a larger fillet onto there after the glass is on. I'm not too happy with the color on there. I probably should have used a little bit of a darker epoxy filler. I have pre-coated everything with epoxy. Now I'm just going to scuff sand it, and I'm going to glass it by putting some glass down and onto the deck, down the inside and under the deck. Normally I would just laminate around a bunch of pieces around the lip and take it off, clean it up, and then glue it on permanently, and then add some more glass. I'm going to maybe try something a little different. Now, according to the plans here, there were two options, and that was to build a carbon fiber lip with foam underneath. I've done that. Never seems to end up very tidy. A lot of work trying to clean it all up. So we're building this one here, which is the vertical strips, and then the lip. And the lip is from the inside edge, or sorry, yeah, from the outer edge here. It's 3/4 inches out, and looks to be about 1/2 inch high. So what I think I'm going to try and do is I'm going to trim this down, the lip down to 1/2 inch high. And I might make a piece of lumber that's going to cover up the top of the vertical strips like this. I'm going to cut a notch into it so it sits down on top of it, and then try and steam bend it around maybe. I put a bunch of masking tape around the outer portion here so I can clearly see, and then I've cut out a little 1/2 inch spacer. And then, as you can see here, I have ground down my pencil flat so that it will sit on top of there. I need to cut this down a little bit shorter, which will make it easier for me to lay my pencil flat. Okay, so if I run this all the way around, of course I don't have any pencil lead showing. Now that I look at how low that line is, 1/2 inch from the deck, I think if I cut that off now, I'm not going to have much meat to actually steam bend any pieces of wood around. So I think I'm going to cut myself a piece of wood and attempt to steam bend a piece of wood around. My goal is to get one piece to come around close to the center here, and then we can put a little block in the center. I'm not going to be able to get that to come around, I don't think, because the one I'd have to overlap them. Next will be what kind of wood. I steamed my 3 layers of ash yesterday. I think the camera kind of went dead on the filming yesterday on me right in the middle of it, and there's no way I was going to be able to stop and change batteries or anything like that because I was under pressure to bend it before it cooled down on me. Now let's just see how well this all held here. Come on. As far as the curb. I know it's going to spring quite a bit here, but as long as I can glue them back together in the curb, it's not too bad. We've got a bit of spring back in the back corners here, but I'm pretty sure I should be able to glue those in together. So my objective here is to glue these three in together, then take them off. Then I plan to cut a little dado into the bottom of this here so it will sit on top of the 3/16 planking, so we're not going to look down on the top of the planking. The question will be, because when I was steaming it I was in a bit of a hurry, I really didn't get sort of the curve down and back up here. So it will be is how much can I bend these three in this direction. I have to see. It's not too bad. Depends on whether I can get the other side to do that because I'm lifting one side. If not, there's always option B. That is to either redo it or try a different method. The different method that I've commonly used is just thinner laminations bent around and glued with epoxy. But I was kind of really looking forward to the whole thought of this looking more solid. I've got my line marked on the outside as to the height required underneath here. Of course, I'm just doing this dry fit because I want to do this with epoxy on there. Find out that it won't work. It'll be a waste of time. So, I go there. Just work. I put some packing tape around the outside here. At this point, I do not want the combing lip to be glued to the boat. I'm going to glue them together, but not to the boat. You can see here, before I took it off, I drew a line across the top edge here, corresponds with sort of the center line. Make sure that I put them all back in the same place when the time comes. So we should be able to pull that into there and pull these in and around and let that set up overnight. So now it's time to mix up some epoxy and do some gluing. I did add a bit of a darker fillet around the bottom of the combing riser here, as I mentioned in a previous video, due to the fact that I really didn't like how white it was. So So now I just need to give this whole thing a scuff sand because I'm time to glue on the combing lip. Following that, I cut down the extended portion of the riser that sits above the combing lip. I then sanded it all down, wet it down, had a good look, shaped it the way I wanted to have it look, and then added a layer of 4-ounce fiberglass onto the lip and down inside the cockpit opening. Now we're just ready to do final sanding. I'll add a couple more coats of epoxy and the cockpit is done. So thank you very much for watching this episode on building the Black Pearl. Do consider becoming a subscriber. At least give me a thumbs up on the videos. See you next time.